الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن سيدنا محمدا عبده ورسوله. قال الله سبحانه وتعالى في الكتاب الكريم بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم: يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. وقال عز وجل: يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما. وقال عز وجل: إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد الفاتح لما أغلق والخاتم لما سبق ناصر الحق بالحق والهادي إلى صراطك المستقيم وعلى آله حق قدره ومقداره العظيم. آمين. أما بعد. We begin in the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by praising Him, by glorifying Him. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to send peace and blessings upon our beloved Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And we ask Allah to shower this gathering with His mercy and make it a source of forgiveness and benefit and light and guidance for us in our dunya and akhirah. The Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he told us that when you seek from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, don't settle for small things. Don't ask Allah for small things. Ask for the highest and the best. And this was the way the Prophet ﷺ was teaching the Sahaba. One person came and said, Ya Allah, he was making dua. The Prophet overheard his dua. He said, what are you asking for? He said, Ya Allah, I'm saying, Ya Allah, forgive me if you wish. Forgive you if you want to forgive me. He said, don't say it like that. He said, ask Allah for forgiveness and know for a fact that Allah is forgiving. He said, ask Allah for Jannatul Firdaus al-A'la, the highest levels of Jannah. And with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it's easy. He can give. And so we begin by praising Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and recognizing that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one who gives and who forgives and who continues to forgive and who continues to give. And we begin by praising Him and by glorifying Him. Because you're all here today because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allowed us to be here. You're here today to remember His names, and this is a blessing that not many people receive. And so alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. One of the things that our ulama, they said that if you knew the reality of this world, you would understand that this, what we're doing here, is the highest priority and everything else is second. In Surah Al-Jumu'ah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, when the call for prayer is made on the day of Jumu'ah, وَذَرُوا الْبَيْءِ, leave trade and all, your tijara, your businesses, leave it and go to the dhikr of Allah. ذَلِكَ خَيْرٌ لَكُمْ إِن كُنتُمْ تَعْلَمُونَ. That's much better for you, if you just knew about it. So, our scholars said that the nature of the human being, the way we are created, is we're always seeking benefit. We want to benefit ourselves. We want to benefit our families. We want to benefit people around us. We want to be in the state where we're always gaining, not losing. And so, being in that way that we are, we're always seeking something that's beneficial. Sometimes the benefits are obvious, sometimes it's not obvious. Someone exercises, right? Or takes care of their health and eats healthy or whatever. Sometimes it's obvious, you can see the effects right away. Sometimes it takes years to notice something. And similarly, the dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the worship of Allah, engaging in the remembrance of Allah is one of those things. Sometimes you see the effects of it immediately. Man opens up his hands and makes dua, Ya Allah, take care of me. I'm in pain. Next day, subhanAllah, he's healthy. Nothing's wrong. Right? Immediate benefit. He says, I saw the effects of dua, now I know. Right? Isa alayhi salam said, dua can move mountains. Right? The power of dua can move mountains. Sometimes it's immediate, you see it. Sometimes you make dua, you make dua, you make dua, you don't see anything. Right? And then what happens later in your life, you realize, oh my God, because of this is now happening. I have a relative, he's now in his 80s. When he was in Afghanistan, he was a young man, he was kind of lazy, according to his own narration of the story. He said, I was very lazy, so I used to make dua, Ya Allah, just give me 5,000 Afghanis every day, so I didn't have to work. He kept working, he had to work. It didn't happen. But when he was in his old age, he's in America, they start sending him checks in mail, Social Security. One day he called his son, he said, I want you to convert this to the Afghani, because something he triggered this memory. So they did the math, they did the exchange and everything, and found out every day he's getting exactly 5,000 Afghanis. He asked for it when he was 20, he received it when he's 80. Right? So sometimes you do this effort, you don't see its benefit right away, but that does not mean there is no benefit. Now, being the creature that we are, seeking always benefit, when you misplace, when you seek for benefit in the wrong places, this is called khata. This is a sin. In English also, when you want to aim something, sin means you missed the mark. You're looking for something, but you went to the wrong place looking for it. You missed the mark. Right? So, there's a story about Mullah Nasruddin. He was sewing something in the dark in his house, and he dropped the needle. The thread ran out, he dropped the needle. And he's looking for it, he couldn't find it. So he opened the window, and he looked outside, and he saw there's a street lamp outside. He said, I have an idea. He went outside. And he started looking under the street lamp. His neighbor come by and said, Mullah, what are you doing? He said, I dropped something, I'm just looking for it. He said, well, let me help you. You know what our neighbor's for. Neighborly person, mashallah. So they started looking together. An hour passed by, they're both groping around in the dark at night. And finally the neighbor said, what did you lose? He said, it was a small, tiny needle. He said, where did you drop it? He said, I dropped it in my house. He said, why are we looking for it out here? He said, because it's brighter out here. You can see better. And so, sometimes in our efforts to seek benefit for ourselves, we look for it where we can see better. And of course, what's immediately in front of you is this world. You look at this world, you look at the street, you look at the job, you look at the money market, you look at this, you look at that, and you think, okay, the benefit is there. And you go there. And you want to gain something. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, leave all of that and come to the dhikr of Allah. There is more benefit here. And when you remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the actual benefit, the actual remembrance is not outside out there. It happens inside you. When your heart turns to Allah, there is the outward qibla. You turn around and you face the qibla. That means your body, you're physically facing where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told you to face. But inwardly, there are people who are facing the qibla with their bodies, but their hearts are turned away from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So you have to turn your heart to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And sometimes it could be in the masjid. A person could be in the masjid. They could be in charge of the masjid. They could be leading the prayers in the masjid. But if their hearts are not turned to Allah in that way, there is no benefit in all of that. And so we have to turn to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with our whole being, with our reality. And so our scholars said that means the priorities have to be set straight. We have to get our priorities straight. How do we do that? Our Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam told us one of the dangers of the end of time. The priorities gets mixed up. It looks religious on the surface, but underneath it's really not. He said sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, a time will come when you will decorate your masahif. You have a mushaf, right? Quran. This is the kalam of Allah. You say, this is the word of Allah, so you start decorating it. Make it look nice, pretty, make it amazing. He said, and you will decorate your masajid. Your masajid will be so amazing. You'll spend millions and millions on it. You make it look nice. From the outside, people say, wow, these people really believe in their faith. Look at how much they spend, how much effort they put into it. But he said, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, the hearts will be empty. Right? You go to the masjid, it will be empty. This is a dangerous thing. The Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam was warning us about the reality that a time will come where a lot of the attention will be on the outward things. But the inward things will be what? Empty. Right? And so the danger of this is sometimes you look at the surface and you say, mashallah, we're doing good. Alhamdulillah, look at our musahif, it's nice and decorated. People are calligraphers or this and that. We give away this many Qur'ans this year, we did this year, that year. And then what happens? You go to the masajid, look at the nice building, look at this, look at that. And you have all these people come toward the masjid. But then when you get inside and you say, okay, what programs do we have? How many people show up for Fajr? How is the condition of the youth? What's going on with this and what's going on with that? And when you start digging and get into it, you find out, wait a second, there's something missing here. There's something wrong here. We need to fix something. We need to work on something. The priority got shifted to the external things and not the internal things. We have scholars, people that have studied their entire life the religion of Islam. Qualified people, right? They come and they cannot have any way to do their livelihood. So they drive Uber. We have people that have ijazah in 10 different qira'at. If you put them in the right position, in the right place, they can benefit the community, they can benefit your children, everybody. But what happens? We do not value people. We value buildings. We value books. We value this and that, but we don't really get the core of the message. How did Islam get to us? On the shoulders of people. Sahaba worked really hard. People under them worked really hard. The Tabi'in worked really hard. They preserved this deen. They passed on this deen. And what happens now, we've come to a point. You know what's the average salary of an imam? I don't work. I'm a volunteer. You know what's the average salary of an imam in America? The one who studied Sharia for 30 years, 20 years, studied their whole life. You know what's the average salary? Less than 40,000. And you can go study some IT, take a couple classes, get a certification, and you can go, and what happens? Immediately you get hired 80,000, 90,000. Where's our priorities? Right? How much is one family's child being saved from hellfire worth, really? If somebody has a positive influence on them. What's the value of that to you, to all of us? What's the value? If somebody comes and teaches your child, say, La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah, this is the benefit of this. What's this mean to you? Right, so we have now in this country something really strange going on, where there are people who come to the masajid after learning and studying all their life. They come to the masajid to teach and to find a community to belong. And while they're young and single, no problem, we abuse them, we take benefit of them. And what happens? They start families and then they start going into difficulty. But many of them, they have second jobs, they have third jobs, they drive Uber, they do this, they do that, just to put food in the mouth of their children. Now, is this fair? Does that describe us in that hadith? The Prophet ﷺ said, we will build big buildings, you will do this, you will do that, but what happens? The hearts are empty. Who fills the hearts? The hearts that receive the light, or the hearts that pass on the light. If we drive out people like that, what's going to happen to us? And so we have to reanalyze ourselves, our situations. I don't work for any organization. I have no need for it, alhamdulillah. This is not a personal thing. This is something that I've been analyzing, not just our community. Alhamdulillah, our community is good. We have a lot of good things happening. But across the United States, I've noticed this is a trend that's happening. And we have to address it. And we have to take care of this before it becomes a catastrophe. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for forgiveness. أقول قولي هذا استغفر الله لكم فاستغفروه إنه هو الغفور الرحيم. الحمد لله وكفى والصلاة والسلام على عباده الذين اصطفى أما بعد. So the signs of the end of times, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam told us that you will be many, many people, but the nations of the world will come and eat from you like wolves eating from a plate of food. Right? Sahaba said, Ya Rasulullah, is it because we're few or we're weak? He said, no, you'll be a lot. You'll be a lot of people, but you'll have two types of diseases afflicting you. First one, you'll have excessive love for the dunya. Second one, you'll have hatred for death. Sahaba, of course, when they heard this, they said, which one of us would love to die, Ya Rasulullah? In other hadith, the Prophet ﷺ said, Allah loves to meet those who love to meet them, and Allah hates to meet those who hates to meet them. Right? So they said, Ya Rasulullah, in order to meet Allah, we have to die. Which one of us would love to die? He said, that's not what I'm talking about. So at the moment of death, the angel of death comes, a person who wants to meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they're ready to go. No problem. But a person who at the moment of death, they want to cling to the dunya, they say, I built up all these things, my this, my that, and they don't want to meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah doesn't want to meet them. So the hatred to death, it's actually a natural thing. You don't want to die. When you cross the street, it's actually the sunnah to protect your life and look to the left and look to the right. Make sure you don't get hit by a car. Preserve the life force. What this means is we become clung to the earth. Imagine you build something and you make it big and you make it nice. And now you say, oh, I have a nice 401k account. I have this, I have that. Now I can retire and relax. You spent a lifetime building up the dunya and destroying the akhirah. Would you want to leave what you built up and go to what you've destroyed? Right? This is the story. So, this is the diseases that have afflicted us. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to purify our hearts from that. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us people who really leave the trade and leave the business and come to the remembrance of Allah when it is the time for remembrance. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us ambassadors of this deen. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us people who will be the support for this cause. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us amongst the ansar of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Ya Arhamar Rahimin, we ask you to make us amongst those who are guided and who's guiding others, Ya Allah. We ask Ya Rabbal Alameen to make us amongst those whose sins are forgiven, Ya Allah. Ya Rabbal Alameen, we ask you to protect our families, protect our children, Ya Allah. We ask Ya Rabbal Alameen, don't let Islam die out with our generation, Ya Allah. We ask Ya Rabbal Alameen to make us amongst those who enter Jannatul Firdaus al-A'la, the highest levels of Jannah, Ya Allah. And your forgiveness is vast, Ya Allah. And your generosity is vast, Ya Allah. Whether we deserve it or not, Ya Rabbal Alameen, we ask you to count us amongst those who are beloved to you, Ya Allah. Ya Rabbal Alameen, we ask you to protect our teachers and scholars, Ya Allah. Grant them rizq that they depend on no one other than you, Ya Allah. Ya Arhamar Rahimin, we ask you to make us self-sufficient and people who only depend on you, Ya Allah. We ask Ya Rabbal Alameen to shower us with your mercy, Ya Allah, and forgive us, Ya Allah, and protect us on the day of judgment from the hellfire, Ya Allah. Wa sallallahu ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Wa akhiru da'wana alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Aqimus salat.
Allahu Akbar, Allah.